When the millionaire mistakenly hopped into the wrong car at 3 a.m., she faced a shocking reality. The night was not quiet. It was electric. The moon hung high, casting odd shadows on the slick city streets. An eerie fog blanketed the air, making everything feel hazy and surreal. At 3 a.m., the world seemed to breathe a little differently. And there she was, Emma Blake, the millionaire, dressed to the nines, her heels clicking like a timer counting down to the unknown. She had just left a lavish gala, surrounded by glitz, cameras, and admirers, her laughter echoing above the roar of music. But in an instant, she felt alone. As she reached the street, her heart raced. Her driver was nowhere to be found, and her phone, dead as a doornail, might as well have been a brick. She took a deep breath, searching the row of dark vehicles, hoping one of them belonged to her. She spotted a sleek black sedan, glimmering under the streetlight, its windows tinted so deeply they hid the world inside. It was silently inviting, a beacon in the chaotic night. Without thinking, Emma pulled the door open and slid into the back seat. The air inside was heavy, stale with an unsettling scent. She turned to speak, but the driver didn't move. A chill ran down her spine. "Excuse me?" she asked, voice trembling. No response, just the low hum of the engine. Panic skittered through her veins. This isn't my car," she said, heart pounding hard enough to echo in her ears. Suddenly, everything felt wrong. The city lights reflected in the rearview mirror like eyes watching her every move. And then, he turned. The eyes that met hers were not friendly. They were cold, glinting with shadows and secrets. He wore a grin that didn't reach his eyes. A lump formed in her throat. In that moment, dread clutched her chest. "Where are you taking me?" she demanded, but the driver only laughed, a harsh sound cutting through the air. The streetlights flickered ominously as they drove deeper into an unlit alley, turning left where no one should go at this hour. Emma's heart raced in panic. As fear overwhelmed her, she recalled the whispers at the gala. They had talked about a missing girl, rumors circulating like wildfire. Dangerous territory, they said. She wiped her clammy palms on her silk dress, eyes darting around the car for anything she could use. She was a millionaire, used to control and power, but here, she felt utterly vulnerable. The driver suddenly hit the brakes, and silence enveloped them, an unfathomable moment stretching between breaths. "What is your name?" he asked, turning to face her. His voice was chilling, tinged with something darker. The car felt like a cage now, and every instinct screamed to get out. "My name is." Just then, a loud bang echoed outside, and the tension thickened. She could almost feel the walls closing in. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Where are we?" she managed, her voice barely a whisper. The driver leaned closer, the darkness around them swirling like a storm. "You wanted to know what reality feels like?" he sneered. Emma's stomach dropped. Everything she thought she knew was crashing down. She was far from the sparkling lights of the gala now. This was a game of survival. Fear gripped her tightly, but an ember of anger flared up just beneath the surface. "Let me out," she shouted, hands trembling, instinct forcing her to fight back. The car lurched forward, headlights illuminating a graffiti-covered wall. She heard voices in the distance. Someone was close. A fleeting hope washed over her. But just as quickly as it came, it vanished when she realized the driver had other plans. "What is it going to be, Emma?" he asked, smirking. Her mind raced. Every movie she'd ever seen flashing through her head, reminding her of the rules. Always be aware, never trust strangers. Yet here she was, in the wrong car, facing the unknown. Would anyone find her? Would anyone even know she was gone? The sound of footsteps echoed nearby, and she couldn't help but wonder, was this the end of her luxurious life, or the beginning of something unimaginable? The driver's menacing grin seemed to stretch impossibly wide as he flicked open his phone, illuminating the darkness inside the car. The screen glared back at Emma, displaying a live feed of unsettling images. It was a recording from earlier that night at the gala. Emma laughing, mingling, posing for photos. "Have you enjoyed your little charade, Emma?" he taunted, tilting the phone toward her. She felt a rush of bile in her throat as her own face appeared on the small screen. Every laugh, every glamorous pose was now a weapon used against her. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice barely a whisper, shadows swallowing her words. He leaned back in his seat, studying her with cold, calculating eyes. "Just a collector of secrets, darling. You wouldn't believe what people are willing to pay for a glimpse into the lives of the rich and clueless." Emma's heart raced. The city felt like it had plunged into an abyss, and she was at the bottom, staring up at the surface. "You think this is a game?" She shot back, clinging to a fragment of her bravado. "Let me go, and maybe you'll get to keep those so-called secrets." His laugh echoed ominously. "You don't understand, do you? There is no going back now. You wanted reality. Here it is." Suddenly, the car jolted, the tires screeching against the pavement, pulling into a darkened space within the alley, a dead end. Emma felt the breath stitch into her throat, every instinct screaming for her to act. She glanced out the window as panic surged through her. Shadows loomed, figures moving just beyond her line of vision. Her heart pounded in time with the rapid clicks of her heels against the car floor. "Hey, help me," she cried, desperation lacing her words. A hooded figure paused, momentarily glancing toward the car. The driver immediately cut the engine, plunging them into silence. Emma felt the dread reassemble in her gut, turning her courage into cold fear. "Calm down, Emma. They want to help you," he said, his tone dispassionate. "You're in my world now." As he reached for something under his seat, Emma's eyes darted around, searching for options that didn't exist. A plan blazed in her mind, fueled by a simple thought: survival. Her purse lay cramped beside her, containing nothing substantial, just lipstick and an old business card. But she could still distract him, buy herself precious seconds. With a sudden determination, she leaned forward, her voice syrupy sweet. "You know, I have a couple of connections that could easily help you out. Money talks, right? How much do you want?" He froze, curiosity flickering across his features momentarily. "Connections? Yes. I could make it worth your while, much more than whatever those poor losers would pay for footage." Emma felt her heartbeat thunder. Would it work? The figure outside lingered, tension thick in the air. "Total bull," he accused, raising an eyebrow. "You think I'd fall for that?" "Try me," she challenged, glancing at the door lock, willing it to snap open. The seconds stretched, and she could see the wheels turning in his mind. He leaned closer, intrigued, and in that moment, her instincts screamed at her. This was her chance. Before she could react, a sudden loud bang reverberated through the alley, sending shocks of fear through her body. The gut-wrenching sound drew attention to the immediate chaos unraveling outside. The figures scrambled in every direction, and the driver's face twisted into anger. "Stay put," he barked, and turned away, focusing on the shifting shadows outside. Emma's heart raced as she comprehended the shift. The chaos could be her savior. With trembling hands, she reached for the door handle, praying it would open. What was waiting outside could either be freedom or another nightmare. Just as she pushed down with all her might, the door suddenly swung open, abruptly catching her off guard. Before she could take a breath, a gloved hand reached in, pulling her out into the chaos. "Run!" a voice shouted, and in a daze of adrenaline, Emma stumbled into the night, unsure of who or what awaited her. What had she just stepped into? The night was bigger than she'd ever known, and every heartbeat echoed the question: was she truly free, or had the real terror just begun? Emma's feet hit the pavement, the cold asphalt shocking her system back into high gear. She didn't look back, not even once. The distant sound of chaos raged behind her like a storm, and she could feel the wind of it pulling her in every direction. "Where are you going?" shouted the voice that had pulled her from the car, urging her to keep moving. Emma sprinted forward, barely absorbing her surroundings as they blurred past dark alleys, flickering streetlights, and shadows that danced under the night sky. "Get down," the voice commanded again, and Emma flung herself behind the abandoned structure, pressing her back against the rough brick surface. This wasn't a city she recognized. "What is happening?" she panted, breathless and wild-eyed. The gloved figure crouched next to her, scanning the area. A man in a dark coat, his features obscured by the hood. He turned to her and whispered urgently, "They're after you. We need to move." For a moment, fear gripped her, but it morphed into something fierce rage. Maybe? How dare they treat her like this? How had everything spun so quickly out of control? "Who are you?" She shot back, her voice trembling slightly but filled with defiance. He didn't answer right away, his eyes flickering from shadow to shadow. "You'll understand soon enough. But right now, we don't have time for questions." Suddenly, the sound of footfalls echoed through the alley, heavy boots, a chorus of growls shouting for her return. Emma's chest tightened. There was no going back. The moments from the gala flickered to life in her mind. Laughter, glamour, and the moments spent with friends. Now, all of that felt like a distant memory, swallowed by this dark reality. "Over here," the stranger hissed, pulling her further into the shadows, down another long, narrow alleyway. Emma looked over her shoulder. The figures were close, too close. She felt their eyes on her, could almost taste the dread mingling with the air. "What is your name?" she finally asked, forcing the question out. She needed something to hold on to. "Cole," he replied tersely. "Now focus. We're heading for a safe house. Get to my car." "Your car?" Panic washed over her again. "What do you mean, safe house? Why should I trust you?" "Because it's either me or them," he said sharply. "Your life depends on it." His expression hardened, and she could sense the urgency radiating off him. Suddenly, a loud crash sent debris flying in the distance. She jumped, her heart pounding in her ears. The adrenaline coursed through her like wildfire. "Let us go," she cried, falling into step behind him, their feet pounding a steady rhythm. She tripped over loose cobblestones, tossing her hands out to steady herself as they turned even sharper corners. They ducked down another alley, and at the end there it was, a sleek black car, hidden under the cover of darkness. "Get in," Cole ordered, throwing open the door before bolting around to the driver's side. Without a second thought, she obliged, sliding into the seat as the engine roared to life. "I can't believe this is happening," Emma murmured, her mind racing through a fog of confusion. She was a million miles from the pulse of her own life, a life she thought was secure and sparkling. Before she could question it further, Cole slammed the gas pedal, and they surged forward. The rearview mirror flashed with lights, sirens shrieking in the distance. "They're coming," he warned, eyes darting. They broke from the narrow stretch of alley and onto the main road, but the chaos was unfolding behind them. Emma could only catch glimpses of figures now flooding the alleyway, her pursuers spilling into view under the streetlights. As they sped deeper into the heart of the city, Emma's mind spiraled with doubts. Who were these people? What did they want from her? Is she merely a pawn in a game that far exceeds her understanding? She trembled at the uncertainty spinning around them. "Cole, we need to hide. You can't just drive aimlessly into the night," she exclaimed, but her voice didn't reach him over the roaring of the engine that he glanced at her with sharp, intense eyes. "Trust me. We won't stop until we're safe. Stay with me." But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that every direction they took only led deeper into the unknown. Just as she had begun to catch her breath, the car suddenly screeched to a halt at a red light. Time froze. "What are you doing?" Panic clawed at her throat. But Cole didn't respond. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the passenger window, a menacing smile spreading across a familiar face as the shadows of danger crept closer. "Hello, Emma," the figure said, voice dripping with malice. Had they really escaped, or had the nightmare only just begun? Emma felt the world tipping again, and for the first time, she wondered if she could truly escape the darkness that clung to her. The smile on the figure's face sent a chill down Emma's spine. She squinted, trying to place the sinister image. "Who are you?" she managed to croak, her breath catching in her throat. Cole's muscles tensed beside her, his hands gripping the steering wheel like a vice. "Just a friend," the figure cooed, tilting his head to the side as if savoring the moment. He looked at her with eyes that glinted like shards of glass, sharp and devoid of warmth. "You're in quite a predicament, aren't you?" "Get away from us," Cole shouted, revving the engine to a low growl. "Emma, hold on." Before she could process what was happening, Cole threw the car into reverse, slamming on the gas. The tires screamed against the asphalt, spinning wildly in the opposite direction. Emma felt her heart leap into her throat as they fled the sinister figure, who flashed a look of surprise and then outrage. Yet he quickly blended back into the dark. The streets blurred around them, and as they sped through, Emma grasped at the door, feeling the rush of the wind even inside the car. There was no safe haven. Only chaos chased them. "Where are we going?" she shouted above the roar. "To a hideout," Cole said through gritted teeth, his focus unwavering. "I'll explain later. Now, I need to know." She could feel the weight of adrenaline settling into her bones, turning her voice into an eager plea. "Who was that?" "An enemy, someone who wants to use you," he replied, urgency woven into his voice. Emma's mind raced. "Use her?" She felt an icy grip tightening around her heart. "What do you mean?" "Let's just say you're caught in a dangerous game. They believe you're a key to something vital," he explained, his eyes darting between the road and the rearview mirror where shadows flickered like ghosts. "If they get to you, it won't just be your life at stake. It could affect a lot more than you can imagine." "Like what?" she pressed, panic bubbling beneath the surface. "Trust me, we don't have time," he shouted, veering sharply to avoid an oncoming vehicle. The car fishtailed but steadied under his control, his instincts honed for this very chaos. An echo of distant sirens filled the air, growing louder. They were not just being hunted, they were being boxed, and Cole's phone buzzed violently on the dashboard. He spared it a glance before cursing under his breath. "They're tracking us. We have to lose them." He accelerated, weaving through the heavy traffic that crowded the streets. Emma could feel her heart pounding like a war drum, the fear and confusion battling for dominance within her. Then, in a terrifying flash, she saw a flicker through the windshield, a familiar shape. "Wait, that's my area." "The don't you dare," Cole barked. "We cannot go there." "But my family, I have to warn them." "Emma." He shot her a fierce look. "They will be targeted if we go there." "That's exactly what they want." But Emma was already shifting her gaze out the window, racing thoughts drowning out his warnings. She'd never imagined the night could turn into a waking nightmare. Memories of her parents' faces filled her mind, worried but strong. They deserve to know. They need to be focused. Cole's sharp command sliced through her emotional storm. "If you believe in anything I've said, we cannot lead them there." Emma fought back the swell of panic, her heart twisting. The limits of her reality stretched like a taut wire. With every passing second, it felt as if they were spiraling further into an abyss of chaos. Suddenly, Cole took a sharp turn, throwing her against the car door. "What are you doing?" she exclaimed, scrambling to sit up straight. "Trust me," he replied again, determination etched into every line of his face. Just then, shadows flickered menacingly behind them. "Hold your breath." He pressed down hard on the gas, the engine roaring with an intensity that sent vibrations through her body. They were rocketing toward what felt like oblivion, and behind them, the bright lights of pursuers glimmered ominously in the rearview mirror. Emma's mind was a whirlwind of fears, memories, and unanswered questions about what lay ahead. "What if I can't make it?" she whispered, startled by the raw uncertainty that escaped her lips. "You have to believe you can," Cole shouted back, and in that moment, she caught a glimpse of determination in his eyes, a resolve she desperately clung to. The chase continued. Shadows loomed closer, and the weight of danger hung over them like new thunder. Just when hope seemed impossibly out of reach, a flicker of possibility emerged, hair-raising and terrifying. The unknown was closing in, and soon Emma would be faced with a choice that could shatter everything. What lay in the dark? Emma braced herself, feeling the pulse of the night thrumming around them. A moment hung on the edge, and she knew that whatever came next would change everything. The tires screamed against the pavement, each screech pulling Emma deeper into a pit of fear. Cole was relentless, darting through intersections while the electric glow of headlights chased them like predators. They were deep in the heart of the city, neon lights flickering like distant stars swallowed by the night. "Cole," Emma gasped, forcing herself to focus on him, to pierce through the chaos wrapping around them. "What do you mean I'm a key? What do they want from me?" Cole didn't flinch, his eyes fixed on the road, yet the tension in his jaw told her he wasn't prepared for her questions. "I can't explain everything now, but it's about something dangerous, something powerful." "Powerful how?" Her heart raced with dread. The more he hinted, the more her imagination spiraled into nightmarish scenarios. Just then, a dark sedan loomed in their rearview mirror, barreling toward them with a malevolent intent. "Get down," Cole shouted, yanking the wheel sharply to the left. Emma barely avoided banging her head against the window as the car swerved violently. "Cole," she cried, the panic tightening her throat again. "We're not going to survive this." He snapped his head around to glance at her, his expression fierce. "We will, but we have to lose them first." With a fierce growl of the engine, he accelerated, the car lunging forward like a wild animal starting its escape. The sedan behind them mirrored their urgency, its headlights slicing through the darkness with relentless precision. "Where's your hideout?" Emma yelled, holding tightly to the edge of her seat. Another glance through the rear window revealed the figure she'd seen earlier leaning out the window of the pursuing car, a cruel smile plastered across his face. "Abandoned warehouse, just a few blocks away." Cole's voice was steady, but she could sense the underlying current of desperation. "Will we make it?" She pressed, doubt creeping back in. "We have to." He tightened his grip on the steering wheel, muscles straining beneath the pressure. Emma could see the warehouse in the distance, a hulking shadow against the lighter skyline. They were close, but would it be enough? Suddenly, a flash of adrenaline surged through her as another car cut across their path, forcing Cole to brake hard. The sudden movement sent her body forward, slamming against the seatbelt, her heart skipping a beat. "No," she shouted, bracing for impact, but they avoided the collision just in time. "Keep your head down," Cole barked, weaving through the narrow alleyways. The sound of the night was punctuated by the blaring of horns and angry shouts as chaos erupted around them. Emerging from the alley, they hit the main street, and Emma's stomach sank as she caught sight of their chasers gaining ground. The dark sedan was now flanking them, the predator closing in for the kill. "I can't believe this is happening," Emma gasped, her mind racing with disbelief and terror. As they approached the warehouse, Cole's eyes flickered to the left. The road was blocked. "No, they're closing us in." Panic settled in his voice. Emma's breath came in sharp gasps. "What if they shut up?" Cole shouted, urgency cracking his calm facade. "Just hold tight." In an inexplicable moment of clarity, Emma realized they needed to fight back. Thoughts kicked into high gear, the adrenaline honing her senses. "What if we can make a diversion? We could throw them off our trail." The idea sprung from her desperation. If only she didn't feel so powerless, entangled in a shadowy game with no way out. "What do you have in mind?" Cole's voice was suddenly tight, as if the idea had sparked something in him too. "If we can find something to block their path, a wrecked car, a barrier." The words spilled from her mouth, and she felt a flicker of hope. "All right, I'll try." He turned sharply, making a hard right toward an old parking lot filled with abandoned vehicles. Each second felt like eternity as they neared the safety of potentially hidden refuge. But that flicker quickly dimmed as headlights swarmed behind them, illuminating the lot in a harsh glow. Emma's fears twisted. Tighter. They were out of options. Just as Cole aimed for a rusting sedan, the sinister figure from earlier emerged again. Crashing through the entry, a male grin stretched across his face. "You thought you could get away?" He taunted, his voice echoing menacingly in the night. Emma froze. Realization washing over her, a choice was looming, a pivotal moment that could tear them apart or bind them together. "Emma now?" Cole shouted, urging her forward as the play unfolded like a twisted game of survival. And in that split second, she knew her response could change everything. What was she willing to sacrifice to escape this nightmare? Time hung heavy in the air, and the shadows closed in. The car shuddered as Cole slammed it into the parking lot, rubber screeching against the pavement like nails on a chalkboard. Emma's heart drummed in her ears, a chaotic rhythm that seemed to match the frenzy of their pursuers. The dark sedan had wasted no time, its headlights cutting through the shadows like a knife, aimed directly at them. "Think!" Cole shouted, scanning the lot in desperation. All around them loomed rusted hulks of forgotten vehicles, places of refuge, or cages of despair. "We need to make a choice quick." While adrenaline coursed through her veins, time felt warped, stretching between frantic breaths. Emma caught sight of an old delivery truck parked in the far corner, its back doors slightly ajar. Without thinking, she pointed, a surge of urgency thrumming through her. "That! We can use that! Go, go, go!" Cole urged, throwing the car into reverse. The vehicle rolled back just as the ominous sedan slammed to a halt, blocking their exit. Emma threw herself down into her seat, heart racing as the figure leaned out the window, a shadowy silhouette framed by the blinding lights. "Nothing can save you now," the driver shouted, laughter tinged with malice echoing in the night. With a primal scream bubbling in her throat, Emma leapt from the car before Cole could even shift into park. She sprinted for the delivery truck, the cold air biting at her lungs, with every step feeling like running through molasses, heavy and uncertain. Behind her, the sound of engines revving threatened to crush her spirit. Could she really be free? "Emma!" Cole barked, tearing after her, his footsteps thundering against the asphalt. They reached the truck just as the sedan roared back into motion, tires screeching in pursuit. Cole yanked open the cargo door and shoved Emma inside, climbing in right behind her. The musty smell of stale cardboard filled the air as he slammed the doors shut, surrounding them in darkness. "Do you think they saw us?" Emma whispered, the dark weight of fear pressing against her chest. "I don't know it's south too close," Cole hissed, trying to catch his breath, his weight leaning against the wooden crates stacked around them. The vibrations of the idling engine reverberated through the metal shell, creating a heartbeat all its own. Emma strained to listen through the silence, a suffocating hush where even her own breaths echoed ominously. The engine of the sedan growled in the distance, and she could picture the threat outside. They were alive, but at what cost? A sudden, chilling thud resonated against the side of the truck, rattling her bones. "Did they find us?" she gasped, her heart racing anew. "I hope not," Cole replied, but doubt ticked in his voice like a time bomb ready to explode. They waited in stricken silence, each fleeting second stretching into a miserable eternity. Emma pushed through the dark cocoon of crates, trying to peer through the gaps. She could barely glimpse the faint outlines of the sedan through the smudged windows, its driver still hovering curiously, as if sensing something was awry. "What is he waiting for?" she whispered, fear gripping her throat once more. Cole's eyes narrowed, glinting in the low light. "Maybe he thinks we'll come out. Or maybe he'll just wait to run us down. We have to do something." As if on cue, the idling stopped abruptly. The world threw itself back into deafening silence, making Emma's skin crawl. A knot of trepidation knotted in her stomach, turning it. What was he planning? Before she could voice her fears, footsteps crunched sharply against the gravel outside, a rapid, determined cadence approaching their location. Emma's breath hitched. A visceral instinct screamed that the moment of confrontation had arrived. "I think they're coming," she whispered, heart violent against her ribcage. "We need a plan," Cole said, but his voice wavered, uncertainty creeping in. Were they really prepared for whatever came next? Just then, the heavy thud of a fist against the truck's rear door shattered the silence, and they exchanged panicked looks. "I'll distract them," he murmured, barely above a whisper. "When they're focused on me, you make a break for it." Panic surged again. Emma was torn, her heart racing at the thought of leaving him alone in this mess. "No, we stick together, Cole. Always." Then it hit her. "Wait," she breathed, a sudden idea striking her. "What if we do it now?" Cole interrupted, tension slicing through his words. But no plan was laid, and time was running out. With a deep breath, Emma steeled herself, realizing they had to act fast or risk getting caught in their own trap. As she quietly opened the door, a gust of night air rushed over her, bringing with it not just the darkness, but uncertainty too. What lay beyond was unknown and likely dangerous. Was she ready to leap into the unknown? And all at once, it was now or never. But just before she could move, a sharp crack echoed in the night, one that reverberated with the promise of utter chaos. Emma's breath caught, their world poised on the edge of a blade. What had just happened? The shadows around them shifted ominously as the transport door swung open. Emma flinched as the door swung wide, flooding the truck with harsh light that momentarily blinded her. She squinted against the brightness, heart pounding like a war drum. Was this it? Were they finally caught? And then she saw him. The driver from the sedan loomed in the doorway, a silhouette carved from nightmares. His face was obscured by the shadows, but his presence radiated menace. He leaned forward, peering inside as if he could smell their fear wafting through the stale air. "Hide," Cole hissed, shoving Emma deeper between the crates as he pressed himself against the wall. Every nerve in her body screamed at her to run, but where could she go? The man chuckled, deep and throaty, a sound that sent chills racing down Emma's spine. You think you can escape? He reached for something tucked in his belt, and Emma's breath hitched. A glint of silver flashed a knife. Let us make this fun. With a sudden, unexpected movement, he took a step inside the truck, forcing Cole and Emma further back into the darkness. Emma's pulse thudded in her ears. They were trapped in a cage of despair. Where are you hiding? He taunted, swinging the knife lightly, like a child twirling a toy. I just want to play. Cole's jaw clenched, muscles taut beneath his skin. Emma noticed his hand sliding around a crate, her heart racing at the thought of him finding something useful. She could almost hear his thoughts. If they could find anything to fight back. Why are you doing this? Emma found her voice, desperate and trembling. You don't have to do this. We can just shut up. He spat, lunging forward. Just as he reached for them, Cole hurled a heavy box in the man's direction, creating a chaotic shuffle of cardboard and gear. The world exploded into motion. Go, Cole yelled, his voice fierce as he shoved Emma out of the way. Without thinking, she leapt toward the open door, fear propelling her through the chaos. She felt the rush of adrenaline push her hard as she hit the ground, scrambling to her feet. Behind her, she heard the thud of their pursuer, the sound of his body crashing into the cargo area. No, come back. Cole's voice rang out, fueled with urgency, but she couldn't look back. Emma dashed across the gravel lot, her feet pounding against the earth. She glanced over her shoulder just in time to see Cole swinging the crate again, trying to buy her time. Her heart swelled with terror and gratitude. He was risking everything. But where could she go? The lot was a maze of abandoned vehicles, each shadow a potential hiding spot or deadly trap. A flicker of movement caught her eye, a narrow passage between two rusted cars leading into darkness. She dashed toward it, heart racing, leaping over the remains of a shattered windshield. With the adrenaline surging through her, Emma pressed against the cold metal of the car beside her, breaths coming in sharp gasps. She peered back to see what was unfolding. A terrifying scene played out. The man had regained his footing and lunged toward Cole, who was still trying to protect their only hope of escape. Don't you wish it could be stayed easy? The man mocked, his voice slicing through the night. Emma clenched her fists, wanting to rush back and help Cole, but they had to remain hidden. They had to bide their time. A new plan was rising in her mind, a way to turn the tide. Suddenly, the sharp screech of tires squealed into the air, followed by an explosion of light as another car pulled into the lot. Emma gasped, hope igniting in her chest. Who was it? Friends? A stranger? Before she could think twice, she bolted toward the light, her instincts screaming that she had to reach that car. A chance for salvation lay ahead, but Cole was still behind, and he needed her more than ever. Just then, a scream shattered the silence, freezing Emma in her tracks. It was a sound of pure horror. What had happened back there? She hesitated, torn between the bitter sting of fear and the flicker of hope alive in her heart. Would she save herself? Or would she turn back for Cole even as time slipped through her fingers like sand? In that moment of indecision, everything unraveled around her, and the shadows seemed to stretch longer with looming dread. Where was Cole? And could she truly face whatever was waiting for her in the light? The headlights swept across the gravel lot, illuminating jagged scraps of metal and broken glass. Emma's heart pulsed in her throat. The unfamiliar vehicle narrowed its path toward her, gliding in with an unsettling ease, as if the driver had rehearsed this moment. She stood frozen for a beat, uncertainty mingling with desperation. Who was in that car? Could they be her saviors? Or another threat lurking in the shadows, ready to capitalize on her fear and confusion? Emma. Cole's voice broke through the panic, raw with urgency. A heavy thud echoed from the truck's interior. Was he okay? She needed to move, but her feet felt glued to the ground, every instinct screaming for her to flee. With a deep, shuddering breath, she merged into the shadows, edging closer to the light. She could see the driver now. A woman, her silhouette framed by the glow from the dashboard. Her head turned, scanning the surroundings. Emma's instincts kicked, and this wasn't just a chance for escape. It was a lifeline. Please help, Emma shouted, each word escaping her lips with frantic urgency. The woman's eyes narrowed like she was trying to decipher a code hidden in the dark. Get in the car. Emma's feet propelled her forward. She jumped inside without hesitation, slamming the door behind her, the sound reverberating like a gunshot in the tense silence. The woman's sharp gaze fixed on her, assessing her frantic state like a detective deciphering a crime scene. What the hell happened? She demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. I need to. Emma started, but was cut off as the car jolted forward, tires crunching over gravel. She glanced back, fear clawing at her chest, hoping to catch a glimpse of Cole. But the truck loomed ominously behind them, a dark reminder of the nightmare they were escaping. Who are you? Emma asked, her voice trembling but edged with determination. Doesn't matter right now. I saw what happened. I'm not letting you go back there. Cole, still I'll help him. Just sit tight. The woman didn't look back, eyes focused on the road ahead. The air was thick with tension, each second dragging into eternity. Emma's mind raced, thoughts spiraling out of control. Everything felt surreal, like a vivid nightmare that refused to fade. How had everything gone so wrong? In the rearview mirror, dark shapes appeared. The man from the truck was coming, and he wasn't alone. A second figure flashed into view, equally menacing. Emma's heart plummeted. Faster, she urged, her voice edged with panic. The woman accelerated, tires squealing against the pavement, but Emma could see their pursuers gaining ground. The flicker of their headlights cast long shadows, stretching over the road like harbingers of doom. Hold on, the woman yelled, weaving the car sharply around a corner. Metal screeched, the tires fighting against the gravel as they veered off into a side street. Emma clutched the door handle, knuckles white, eyes wide. Who is chasing us? Old clients of mine, she replied, voice low and steady, but Emma noticed a flicker of fear in her eyes. Clients? Emma echoed, confusion flooding her. What does that mean? Don't worry about it now. Just focus. But how could she not worry? Fear twisted in her stomach. Had they simply traded one captor for another? What was the woman hiding? The car raced through the dimly lit streets, but the terror of what they had escaped lingered. A knot tightened in Emma's chest. Cole was still somewhere back there, and she had no way to save him. The shadows seemed to whisper, evoking 1,000 what-ifs. Suddenly, another scream echoed from somewhere beyond the alley, freezing Emma's blood. What was that? She gasped, heart racing again. I don't know, just keep your head down. The woman snapped, her voice laced with urgency, but it was already too late. The headlights of another vehicle burst onto the scene, cutting through the darkness like a knife, pulling closer to them. Buckle up. Emma braced herself, her chest tight with dread as she braced for whatever came next. What new horror awaited them in the night, and could she trust the woman beside her? In that overwhelming moment, the tension crested like a wave about to break. Was the nightmare truly over, or was this just the beginning? The blare of sirens filled the night, slicing through the darkness like a blade. Emma's heart raced, pounding against her ribs like it wanted to escape. The headlights from the pursuing vehicle grew brighter, illuminating the inside of the car momentarily, revealing the woman's tense visage, her eyes wild yet focused. Don't look back. Just hold on, she shouted, her voice a mixture of urgency and authority. Panic surged in Emma as she swerved to the right, the car lurching under the force. She gripped the seat, feeling the fabric dig into her skin. Every moment was a battle against the rising tide of despair that threatened to drown her. Not Cole, he couldn't be left behind. What are they? Emma managed to choke out, barely able to voice the question swimming in her mind. The woman's jaw tightened, her grip on the wheel tightening as she forged ahead. They're not just anyone. They need what you have. What? Emma felt cold sweat slip down her spine. What do I have? The woman shot her a piercing glance, one that made Emma feel just a bit more like prey. It doesn't matter now. Just keep your head down. They tore through the streets, the sound of the other vehicle's roaring engine echoing behind them. Emma quickly glanced in the rearview mirror, her heart dropping. The figures in the headlights were closer now, the dark silhouettes morphing into those of giants in the night. Two men, rough and intent, their faces revealed for a split second, their expressions strikingly determined. More sirens bounced off the walls of the narrow streets, a cacophony of sound pushing Emma further into a state of bewilderment. Where are we going? she shouted, though she knew she might not get an answer. The woman didn't respond. Her face set in an expression that could only be described as grim determination. "We've got to lose them first," she finally uttered, the words clipped and sharp. Like a signal, she sharply turned the wheel again, sending the car veering left into a narrow alley. The car rattled over uneven pavement, and trash had been strewn across the path, as if those who lived here long ago had abandoned their homes in haste. Emma's breath hitched as she felt the vehicle nearly skid sideways. She held tight, desperately wishing for the back road she didn't recognize to give them the cover they needed. The other car followed, tires screeching against the concrete as her pursuers gave chase into the tight alley. Emma knew they were too close. Her thoughts were a whirlwind of fear and confusion. She could still hear Cole's voice, the worry etched in his face when they spoke just hours earlier. And now where was he? "I can't leave him," Emma yelled, but the woman's expression remained monochrome, her eyes scanning vigorously for an escape route. Suddenly, there was a crash. The pursuing car slammed against a dumpster, metal crumpling like paper. Emma twisted her body, feeling her heartbeat slow just a bit. Maybe they weren't the fastest. Maybe they could, and then another loud bang, and the car jolted. Emma's heart stopped as the back window shattered, glass raining down like jagged hail. She ducked instinctively, her skin prickling with fear. "Keep down," the woman roared, throwing the car into reverse as she swerved around debris. Just as Emma lifted her head, she caught sight of the men spilling from their car, guns drawn, faces illuminated by the bluish light of their headlights. There was no mistaking their intent. This wasn't a simple chase anymore. It was an attack. "Get ready to run," the woman barked, her voice fierce. "Run?" Emma's heart dropped. There was nowhere to hide. With a skill that belied her repose under pressure, the woman cranked the steering wheel hard, launching the car back towards the mouth of the alley. "Trust me," she spat. Emma's mind spun. Could she? Out there, that madness awaited. Yet in here was all-consuming chaos. Her gut gripped her, telling her to act. And suddenly, the final obstacle loomed, a brick wall at the alley's end. They were about to crash. "Hold on tight," the woman screamed, slamming her foot down on the accelerator. Emma squeezed her eyes shut. A breath later, a surge of momentum sent them hurtling into a world defined by speed and uncertainty, the echo of her fears racing alongside them. But just before impact, as the windshield cracked, Emma's mind flickered with an awful realization. What if their escape was only just beginning? How far could they go if they survived this? And what truths lay ahead? The world felt like it was spinning as the woman's foot pressed to the floor, the engine roaring with ferocity. Emma clung to the seat, feeling every jolt surge through her as they barreled toward the dead end. The brick wall loomed closer, her mind racing, a desperate yearning for escape thrumming in her veins. In the final heartbeat before impact, the woman flipped the car to the side, skidding hard against the wall, metal crumpling as the screech echoed in the narrow alley. Emma gasped as they slid, the tires scraping against brick in a bone-rattling dance of chaos. Fear and adrenaline clashed within her, blurring her sense of time as they finally ground to a halt. "Get out now," the woman shouted, her voice slicing through the haze. Emma scrambled for the door, throwing herself into the unforgiving night. She crashed onto the pavement, scrambling over the rubble, the adrenaline propelling her on, pushing aside every scream of dread echoing in her head. The woman was right behind her, already scanning the streets for movement. They darted into the deeper shadows, breathless as the chaos outside simmered into an ominous quiet. "What now?" Emma urged, her heart still hammering. They had escaped the car, but the danger felt like a specter lurking behind them. "Head for that alley," the woman directed, pointing down a narrow passage glittering with broken glass and debris. It was dark but inviting compared to the chaos they had just escaped. Emma could hear distant shouts, desperation layering the air, an echo of what she'd desperately been running from. "They won't give up easily," she whispered. The fear settled back down like cold weight in her stomach. With one swift glance over her shoulder, she knew that whatever had spiraled out of control was far more than just a bad night. It was a threat that had teeth that could devour everything she loved. "Move," the woman urged again, her urgency pulling Emma from the spiral of her thoughts. They took off, each footfall hitting the pavement like war drums in the night. "Who are you?" Emma cried breathlessly as they turned into the alley, shadows swallowing them whole. "Someone who wants to keep you alive," the woman replied, glancing back to see if they were being followed. "I've been tracking them for a while." Emma tried to break through the fog in her mind, pieces clicking together in unsettling realizations. "You know about the man from the gala? And Cole?" "Yeah, don't worry, we'll find him," she replied, though Emma could see the tension pooling in her eyes. "What did he mean when he said I was a key?" Emma pressed, urgency bleeding into her words. Everything felt like an unraveling thread, one pull away from disaster. "I'll explain soon, but right now we need to stay ahead. They'll do whatever it takes to get to you." The woman led them deeper into the maze of alleys, moving with a grace Emma hadn't known she possessed. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed behind them, heavy and resounding. "They're coming," the woman hissed, her urgency seeping into Emma's bones. "This way." With adrenaline coursing through her, Emma followed blindly, hoping they could elude whatever nightmare stalked them. They dashed down another alley, the sound of pursuit fading momentarily. "Where are we going?" Emma gasped, panic clawing at her throat. "There's a safe house not too far from here. We can hide and regroup," the woman assured her, though doubt lingered in the air like an unwelcome guest. In a matter of seconds, they skidded to a halt in front of a standing doorway wedged beneath a sagging awning. The woman pushed it open, gesturing for Emma to follow. Inside was dark and musty, crates haphazardly stacked against the walls, a smell of dust and old secrets filling the air. "Stay low, stay quiet," the woman coached, glancing outside to assess their surroundings. Emma's heart raced as they huddled inside, their breaths mingling in the silence. Outside, the sounds of chaos drifted closer as shadows flitted past the doorway. "What if they find us?" Emma murmured, feeling another layer of panic settle over her like a heavy blanket. "They won tea. Trust me," the woman said, her voice steady. "But to keep you safe, I have to tell you what's going on." So, Emma listened closely, desperately clinging to her words like a life raft in the ocean of confusion. "You possess something more than just wealth, Emma. There's a tech project your family is involved in, something powerful, something they want." "What does that mean?" Emma's mind raced as her heart sank. "They want me for a project?" "Something like that. But we can't let them have it if they do. It's not just you at risk. It could unravel everything your family has worked for." The thought twisted in Emma's chest. "But I don't understand. How can I help? I have no idea about any of this." "Your name gives you access," the woman explained. "You're the one they target to get their hands on what they want. But I've dealt with these threats before. I'll get you out of this." As the chaos outside enveloped them, Emma finally felt the weight of what had been taken from her, the certainty, the control of her life. She thought of Cole then. Imagine the fear he must be feeling, the screams of the night echoing in her mind. "Will we fight back?" she asked, the surge of determination igniting something deep within her. "Absolutely," the woman affirmed, a fierce gleam mirrored in her eyes. "And I promise we'll get you to safety." Emma found strength blooming within. "Then let us take back what's ours." With that, they prepared to face the threat outside, hearts pounding in unison. But as they stepped out into the unknown, Emma could feel the storm gathering again. A reckoning was coming, and she was ready to fight. Now is the moment, folks. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this intense ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything. Let's keep this community alive.